What's up guys, Altsona here, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to be taking a look at the Bachmann Santa Fe 484 30777. Wait, I think I said that right. 3777 class of 484s for the Santa Fe. So, let's get into it. This is a gorgeous, one of the best 484s that has ever been made. Not to mention, in terms of Bachmann, this is probably one of the greatest Northerns, or one of the best locomotives that Bachmann has ever made. The one thing I can say I don't like about it is that it does not have a flywheel on the motor, and it doesn't have bearings. Other than that, I think it's all right. This thing is big. That's one thing I can say. For a Northern type, this is a pretty big one. Like I said, the one thing I just wish it had, especially, was a flywheel on the motor. It doesn't have a flywheel, but it does have a 5-pole, so that's one thing I can say. Don't know why it doesn't just have a flywheel, but oh well. It works. It does pull fairly well. I managed to get about 20 cars out of it. It's a big engine. So that's one thing I can't say. One thing that I've heard that is notorious, or one thing I've heard about these engines is the rods. Hasn't happened on mine because this engine is actually lightly used. When I got this engine, the only thing wrong with it was the pilot. This isn't its original plow. This is a plow from a Bachmann Spectrum 2102. Its original plow was destroyed, or broken when I got it. So I replaced it with this one. And it actually looks pretty good. I actually like this one. So yeah. I got this engine in trade for my Bachmann GS4, so I got this engine. As you can probably tell by the white or yellowish highlights on the markers, those do work, of course, and this does have running lights. This will also get a firebox light. I've already drilled the hole for it. I just need to buy some red LEDs. And yeah, that's about it. This engine, I really do like this thing, though. I can't wait to put Tsunami sound in it just so it can complement my Texas whenever I put sound in that engine. But, yeah. So, let's go ahead and look at this engine, or a brief history of it. So, the 3777 class was designed right after the Santa Fe 3751 class of Northerns were delivered. So, these engines look very similar to those, or basically, well, not very similar, but they had some traits from them that were made better. Things that were made better was that this thing was given all roller bearings. So this thing had roller bearing rods, roller bearing axles, of course. These were a little bit larger. They had a little bit bigger firebox. They had a little bit more tractive effort. A top speed of 110 miles an hour. And they were given an 8-axle oil tender, which became pretty standard for some of the Santa Fe's bigger engines. These basically gave the design. This basically was the design that was based off for the 2900 series. The 2900s were actually based off of this design. So when it came out, the 2900 series, of course, those ones were a little bit bigger and were a lot more powerful. Those had a top speed of 120 miles an hour and could actually rival the speed of the FEF3. These had around 78,000 or 79,000 pounds of tractive effort without a booster, so these were really, really powerful one. Of course, these were oil burners. Santa Fe converted their coal burners to oil because, running out in the desert, they needed that. Not to mention you couldn't burn coal out in California anymore, so yeah. These had a pretty long service life. This class of Northerns were actually, all of them were gone. The only ones that were related to these or close to these were basically the 3751 class, which a couple of those are still around. I believe 2 of those are still around, actually. Well, of course, 2 of them, 3751 and 3759. I don't know if there's any more of that class of Northerns. I think those are the only 2 survivors. But a couple 2900 survive, and 2926 is their running one that looks very similar to this and actually runs. Which I'm actually considering renumbering this into 2926. There might be a couple of cosmetic things that I might have to change on it or add some detail to match 2926. But other than that, I think I might do that. We'll see though. That's not written in stone yet. Although I'm not looking forward to redecaling the engine though. The tender won't be hard, but the engine I'm not looking forward to. But that's all to be determined. I don't know if I will change it to that though, but we'll see. Anyways, let's take a look at this engine in detail. So most of the detail in this engine is cast in, but honestly, that's okay considering this engine has never been made out anywhere outside of brass. I'm okay with that. And it's actually done, even though it's cast in, it's cast in pretty decently though. It looks pretty good. I like it. I'm okay with it being cast in because, since no one's done this engine, and because I really like this engine though, even though for the most of the detail being cast in, it actually looks pretty good. And I really want to have this engine in my Texas weathered. Maybe if I actually decide to give the 5018 and an actual matching tender, and to have its tender, instead of saying 5016, have it say 5018 on the side, because Bachmann sent me the wrong engine cells and now I have 5018 instead of 16. So I might change the tender's number to 18 in the future, but who knows? Make it more interesting to have, masqueraded tenders. But now we have, of course, the pilot with steps. We got this bar right here in front of the air pump shield. Railings going up to the boiler. Headlight, of course. Number plate up underneath it. Steps and ladders going up to the walkway. A couple of cut lever that does actually move. Easy main knuckle coupler, which will play God, I will be converting this to a KD in the future. Not now though, but at some point in the future I will convert that to a KD. But yeah, moving bell, of course, does move. Smoke box door with rivet detailing, market lights that I made work. Feed water heater right here. And I don't know how easy it is to see from this angle, but the stack with the stack extenders on the sides of it. Okay, going to the side of the smoke box. We have the pilot truck, of course, down here. Cylinders, washers, valve gear, no builder's plates, Santa Fe 6 chime, smokestack with stack extenders and a stack blow thing going to the back of the cab. I think I already talked about the whistle. You might be able to see a red wire right there. That's actually the wire positive from the marker light. Need to paint that black at some point. Let's continue on. You got your Santa Fe ladders, which is a characteristic trait of the Santa Fe Northerns. Walsh's valve gear with the roller bearing rods, of course. Box pock drivers, 80-inch drivers. Reversing gear right here. Air tank. More piping. Casting, of course. Trailing truck, which is actually pretty nicely done. It's a die-cast metal trailing truck, of course, so that we can have weight. Steps on the side, really, kinda. That's what that looks like. Santa Fe on the side of the cab. Cab detailing, pretty sparse, but it is better than most cabs I've seen. Drawbar, of course, with the 2 pins. Minimum operating radius of 22. So railings on the side of the cab. Let's turn this around. Pretty much the same, exact same on the other side, except no reverse gear. Air tank right here. Pretty much exactly the same. Oh, the injector is also on the other side. There's an injector there, which is right here. That's a little injector piece. But yeah, that's the front. Let's take a look at the top. Of course, you got your number boards and everything and stuff like that. Your steam dome, your pop-off valves, the little things going back to the cab. I forget what those are actually called. Your dynamo. I don't know what that little thing right there is, but yeah. Cab roof, two vents which don't move, of course, but honestly, for being most of it cast in, it's actually done pretty well for being cast in. Um, but yeah, that's that. So let's move this out the way. I'm bringing the tender, and now one thing I can say about this tender is I like it. The one thing I will say though is that it does have a lot of drag from the wheel. Like there is a lot of drag on this tender, which I might be able to fix by taking all the 8 axles out. I just want to be careful to not crack it like I did with the Santa Fe Texas trucks, because when I took the trucks off to try to put metal wheels on them, I accidentally cracked the trucks. So sometimes it's a little bit hard to get the wheels out. But what I like about this tender though is that it does pick up power from all 8 wheels on both sides. My friend Peter, who has this type of engine but has 3784, his tender only picks up power from the 2 outer axles. Mine picks up power from all 16 wheels on the tender. Although there's a lot of drag on my tender, it doesn't even free roll on my table. So what I might be able to do is, like the axle ends, I might be able to bare those out with with a drill, just to basically beam them, rear them out. The axle boxes, like where the axle points sit in, might be able to ream those out a little bit so that way they can free roll a little bit better. But I want to be very careful with that though, because I don't want to mess up the trucks, because you can't get these trucks anywhere. Bachmann doesn't sell these trucks because these engines are discontinued. One of their best engines that they've ever made, in my opinion. This and their Santa Fe Texas, one of their best two of their best engines that they've ever made, and they've discontinued them, in my opinion. So yeah, that's that. Anyways, going on with the tender, of course you got your 2 little plugs that plug into the back of the engine, which are right underneath the drawbar, which is quite annoying in some cases. But either way, they come out of there and they plug underneath the back of the cab. You got your tender ladders, of course. You got your sand box for the fireman to shovel sand into the firebox to sand the flues. Rivet detailing on the side. Fay 3777 on the side of the tender. Your 2 4-axle trucks with really nice brake detailing and brake rigging. It's really hard. No one sells these trucks anywhere. That's the annoying part. If you want to get these trucks, you need to find one of the older split chassis Santa Fe Northern's tenders and buy that, and then add your own electrical pickup system, which I will show on Santa Fe 5018 in a minute, because that has the same tender, but it doesn't have these type of trucks. Well, it has this type of trucks, but they don't have the type of wipers that this does. Easy make coupler, of course, which barely clears the rear truck. Speaker opening is right underneath the front truck. I wish it had one back here as well, because with an 8-axle tender like this, you can put almost any type of speaker enclosure in here you want. Now I will say though, this tender is very light, so I do need to add more weight, and I do need to remount those axle boxes, because because this engine doesn't have, I haven't added any weight to this engine yet. All that's inside of the boiler is wires. But because this engine I haven't added any weight to this engine yet. It will pull. Okay, it will pull trains pretty fine. It will pull trains fine. It pulled a 20-car train okay, but it did have some trouble because of that tender. Like I said, this tender has a lot of drag. So I need to remount those axles, and I do need to add some weight into the tender to improve a little bit of tracking. It tracks perfectly fine on the club layout switches. But I do want to add some more weight just so it has more, better tracking capability, and plus more electrical contact, because you have more weight pushing down on the tender, so you have more weight pushing down on those trucks to pick up power. But yeah, let's take a look at the top of the tender. More a toolbox here, some piping here, oil dipsticks and stuff like that, oil hatches. I believe this one of these is a sand hatch, and one of these is an oil hatch. I'm assuming this one is the oil hatch and this one's for sand. Or I think sand goes in one of these boxes up here. I'm not sure, but yeah. You got railings, of course. two water hatches, and your rear backup light. 3777 on the back of the tender. Rear backup light, I think I already said that. A little crooked actually. My backup light. I think I did that when I put the light back on when I had replaced the LED. Anyways, same thing on the other side. You know, nothing special. But that's that. So I hope you enjoyed the detailing of this engine. So let's go ahead and get this thing, connected to its tender, and let's go ahead and run the thing. Also, hold on, I wanted to bring 5018 in the picture so I can show you what I did with this engine. Now, I can't separate this engine from its tender, so it's going to be a little bit awkward to show what I've done to this engine. Now, of course, like I said, this has the same exact tender, nothing different, except my rear light being crooked, but that's an easy fix by me just taking it off and then re-gluing it back in place correctly. Anyways, one thing that I did differently with 5018's tender is that my coupler is a little bit more recessed because I had to, like I said, I had to make my own coupler box, because if I didn't do that, I would have had a truck mounted coupler, and I didn't want that at all. So my coupler is recessed a little bit, and it actually used to be a lot further in, but because it was getting in the way of the truck, I had to pull it out just a little bit, and there it is, where it is now. As where this one sticks out just a little bit more, this one's a lot more recessed. Let's turn the engine onto its side. Now again, this is a Texas, so it's a 210 4, and the center axle is actually flanged. It's not blind, so I really do like that. Bachmann didn't cheapen out on that and make it a blind axle, so that's really nice. As I said, the thing is hardwired to its tender, so I can't separate it because it's, as you can see, it's screwed. The drawbar screwed together. Here's the electrical contact system I had to develop for 5018. I bought these copper-like collars, and I basically put them on the two inner trucks. I probably should have put them on the outer ones, but I didn't want them to risk them getting in the way. Although I am considering buying two more packs of these, and putting them on these two axles, on the inner two axles, so that way I can have a little bit more contact. Because I don't really want to put them on the outer ones, because I don't want this to get caught in the coupler box, the collar to get caught in the coupler box, and I don't want this to get caught on the drawbar or anything. I don't think it would get caught on the drawbar, so this truck might be okay to have all-wheel pickup, but this truck I might leave only the very last axle free. So we'll see. That's to be determined though, because this engine has been through a lot, and I don't really want to take it apart again, especially the engine. The tender though is a questionable, because I still have to do some work in the tender, because I still need to put sound into this engine, and that is going to be Tsunami 2. Same for this engine, Tsunami 2. But like I said, once I get these the firebox in, and once I get these axles reamed out a little bit, so that way the tender has less drag, that's going to be that. But that's all to be determined in the future though. But anyway, let's go put this engine on the track and run it. Alright, so here we are with the 484, and as you can see, it looks great. Marker lights, of course, running lights, and yeah. So basically soon it'll have the firebox glow like 5018 does, which I will get in 1 second. Okay, so here's 5018, and as you can see, it has the same light set up on the front, but here's the firebox basically, and what it would look like. And there is it flickering. This has a Digitrax decoder in it, so I can get that flickering effect that I was looking for. Although Tsunami 2, I think it'll be a little bit faster. But yeah, pretty much that's what we would be looking for. And of course, together they make a really nice Santa Fe doubleheader. So we're gonna run these two, and I hope you guys enjoy. Thanks for watching.